Yeah.
I don't know why, but he's upset with me.
Ow. That was a rib.
Don't have those.
Don't push your way so close. Alrighty. I don't really know what to say at the beginning of this because I want to save most of it for the podcast. So.
You want to, okay.
Well, we need to, I was going to put it in recording. I was going to use the podcast as part of to talk about it.
It works for me.
Okay. You ready? Okie dokie. 3, 2, 1.
There will be no funny business.
It's gonna be a little bit different this time, guys. There's a lot going on right now, if you're not aware. I'm America. That's James. This is still CityWavesCinema. However, I want to put a big disclaimer at the beginning of this that we are making this purely for ourselves, and in support of the writers and actors and everyone who worked on this movie. We'll not be promoting the company or anything like that. Because in case you don't know, as time of recording of this, we are in a strike.
A big old strike.
The Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA have all gone on strike. We are not currently in the union. Neither of us are. But I was an actor in theater for quite some time, and in the case that we ever get the opportunity to do that again, we just want to make it really clear where we stand, and that we are standing on the side of actors and performers and creators and writers and pretty much any artistic individual,
any non-corporate
entity. I think it's definitely gonna be weird. We're gonna do our best to make it not weird, but it's definitely something that we kind of need to talk about up front here. This isn't normally a serious podcast or something that we take.
I'd wager most of the time it's very unserious.
But we do want to make sure that it's understood why we're doing this and what we're doing it for. This is part of our content and part of our creation and part of our channel. And it's not sponsored. It's not promoted anyway by any corporate entity. This is just purely for us. It's what we've been doing. It's what we will continue to do. But we do want to make it clear that we'll be putting links to support both strikes in our live stream as well as in our podcast description. If you can, even if it's just sharing something on social, like, make sure that we're supporting the right people and we're all banding together, because as an artist community, everything that's going on is really shitty. It sucks and nobody wants to have this going on, but it is what's going on right now. And we will not be taking any deals with any corporations. We will not be paid to promote anything that would interfere with the strike and interfere with all of the people that are just trying to honestly get the pay and respect they deserve. So, yeah, I wanted to kind of just get that out there, get that done. I don't know if you have anything else to talk about the strike, James.
No, not really.
Okay. So yeah, it sucks, but this is where we're at. And hopefully we can do what we can to support our friends and fellow creators and fellow artists who are affected by the strike. And yeah, I think that's that. With that, we did watch our movie. We watched Castle in the Sky. We're gonna avoid kind of saying any studio names or corporate names in this. But it is a Hayao Miyazaki film. It was on our list. It was what was voted for. It's my favorite one out of his set of movies. Honestly, it is my favorite one. I love ya. Love this movie. It's great. I think it has the best soundtrack out of any of them. I like the story. It hits all of my favorite things in a movie. So, yeah. But James is the one that's really diving in here for the first time. So, what'd you think, James?
Well, of all the Miyazaki movies you've made me watch up to this point, this is easily the one that there's the least wrong with. There's just not there's not as much dumb plot stuff. There aren't characters that are just making criminally insane decisions. The story is a little, I mean, it's a far-fetched story, but it's a fairy tale. It's a movie for kids. You can be asked to suspend your disbelief for any amount of things.
I feel like it's the least batshit crazy
It's
of the
definitely
plots.
it's definitely the least batshit crazy in that there's just nothing that's really insane about it, save for the outrageous body count and the subtle undertones of classism and not racism, but like speciesism. I don't know. Muska gets fucking weird there at the end, a la the Nazis. So yeah, maybe it is racism. I'm not sure, but the really like malevolent portions of the movie are kind of saved for the end. Other than the fact that they are just violent people through and through the movie.
I feel like though, as far as like the racism and stuff, I feel like it's a little bit more like a grounded plot. Like you have Spirited Away, which
It's much
is,
more realistic than anything
yeah,
else.
it's you because I think a lot of there's lots of hard topics in any of the Miyazaki films and some underlying societal tones there, but I think this one,
Oh, and there's a strong, like, healthy dose of strangely accepted, like, all the way pedophilia in this
yeah, there is that.
movie. Like, front to back, everyone wants to fuck the protagonist, who is maybe 9. Like,
I think she's at least like 13, maybe.
maybe, but how old was the chick in Howl's Moving Castle? 18?
Yeah.
She was 18.
Sophie was like 18.
Sophie was
19.
18. Okay. What's her fucking name in this movie?
Sheeta.
Sheeta and Sophie are hugely different ages.
That is fair.
And Sheeta's clearly younger.
I would say like 13. Like I'd say like she's just a fresh teenager.
It doesn't make it better or worse how old the individual is.
It makes it better for 9 seems real young.
Have you seen what Patsu looks like? He looks like a 9-year-old boy. And they look like they're the same age. They're the same height, the same build. They look the same. If anything, if Patsu looks like a 9-year-old, then Sheeta should be, because girls develop faster than boys, Sheeta should be like 7?
We do like 11?
I don't know. I don't know how old she's supposed to be, and Miyazaki doesn't tell us.
Did you look?
No.
I'm gonna look.
Look and tell me how old Sheeta is, because I will not believe you immediately. To start the movie, we just tap into, now this all, I should mention, this is the first of Miyazaki's movies.
Oh, it is? I did not know
This
that.
is the first one. This one came out.
13-year-old orphaned girl.
Okay.
Boom!
So she's 13. Doesn't change anything about what I said.
No, but it made me feel better about like their little like
Their little love ordeal?
Yeah, their little romance, because I don't feel like 9-year-olds should be doing that.
Although they didn't really have a romance.
They were cutesy.
They were cutesy, but the good thing about Patsu is that he doesn't push anything ever at all.
No.
And he's just along for the ride. He's just hanging out. Patsu's the real homie. He's just He's just out here doing stuff.
We love a Patsu.
Patsu doesn't know what the fuck's going on at any given time, except for when he needs to know every bit of plot, in which case, Patsu is the exposition boy.
He really is, though. He has
Sometimes there's nothing left to push the plot forward, so Patsu does a monologue, and then we get to move forward again. Which happens, I think, twice.
It does happen to the point where you're like, how do you know? Like, he's just like,
why do you know this many things?
And he's just, a lot of the time, he's just quote unquote guessing. Like, he's just like, I feel like I think this, and I'm like,
At the end, in one of his ending monologues, he was just like, I bet you it's this, this, and this, and this. And you go, that's true, but why? Why did you guess that thing in that order? I don't understand. What led you? I'm 27. What led you to know? So, we open the movie with Japan's greatest fetish from the 1980s, and that is airships everywhere, all over the goddamn place.
I love an airship, but I'm also a Final Fantasy girl, and they're in Final Fantasy a lot too, and I just want one. I just want to be on an airship so bad. I want to ride on an airship. I want to be.
What about the third Indiana Jones movie? When they go on the airship.
What about it?
It's what inspired the whole game Papers, Please. Do you like that movie because airship?
I mean, I like Indiana Jones as much as the next person, but I like fantasy airships. Like Final Fantasy.
I mean, it's a fantasy to get a Nazi airship in the mid-'80s.
Okay.
So, Japan has a big fetish with airships from the 1980s. We get a shot of Cheetah in this fucking... Was she with Muska?
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning?
Yeah, he had gotten her. They came and kidnapped her from her house.
So, right. But that's explained later. So, in this big old ship, which has, like, civilians and shit on it, it's like a pleasure cruiser.
It seems like it's like a rich people...
It gives...
boat.
It's giving money.
Mm-hmm. Because they have a whole gala upstairs.
Oh, yeah, there's people in fancy dress and all that shit. So they're going, and Sheeta's in this room looking out the window all forlorn, and there's like a bunch of like adult men in this room with her, and you go, this seems like kidnapping.
It's
and
also
then,
like she's refusing to eat the food they bring her.
He offers her a plate, and she just like moves her head, and you go, oh, that's what kidnapped children do. So very early on, they establish a tone here of like, oh, everything's bad. And then these insane pirates who are also in an airship that looks like if Dr. Eggman and a turkey fucked and made a metal amalgamation from hell.
The Dola Gang?
Yeah, the Dola Gang. They launch these little buzzy flyer things, and they're gonna assault this ship because they're also after the girl, but they're not after the girl for the girl's sake. They're after the girl for the pendant that she wears, the crystal. And so they're pirates looking for treasure, I guess, and she wants this crystal. I still don't remember exactly how Mama Dola figured out about the crystal and that it was valuable.
I don't think that's like ever really explained. It's just like,
it's my crystal, mine.
I think that people know that Laputa has treasure, and they know that the crystal gets you to the treasure, and that's that.
So there you go. I mean, it's very simplistic stuff. The pirates roll up, assault this boat, kill a bunch of people, unlike other Miyazaki movies, where like things are just like strange or you don't see it, they like shoot guns and shit. Mm-hmm. They fire grenades. Like, it's a violent movie.
It's a very much more like, I feel like technological movie compared to like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, Hal's whole castle was automated, but it was controlled by Calcifer, so
right.
But yeah, I think this is the first one and it is his first one, but this is the first one that we've watched on this channel, where like we see guns and like cannons and like proper like war fodder.
Yeah. Which Miyazaki did all that on purpose.
Well, I guess Hal's did too, because they had the whole war when they were dropping bombs and stuff too.
Yeah, they had the war, but that was a lot more of fantastical design that Miyazaki straight ripped off England from World War II and Germany from World War II for the costume design and the weaponry design and all that shit.
Yeah.
Now, the antagonists in this movie is every human being that you see that is not Sheeta and Patsu.
Wait, the townspeople are pretty chill.
They
Of
brawl.
the mining community.
They brawl the pirates.
But they do it to defend Sheeta and Patsu, so wouldn't that make them heroes?
I guess they're not antagonists. Every other person is though. Sheeta also just falls off the airship.
Yes.
As the pirates are coming for her, and she knocks out Muska with a bottle, and then is like, "Fuck it, we climb out the window." So she climbs out the window, and then she's scurrying along the side, and then the pirates are like, "There she is, get her!" And then she just straight up falls. Now I would like to posit that a entirely realistic explanation for the rest of this movie is that she falls to her death, and in her dying moment, this is the hallucination that she has. That's dark. It's probably not true, but I like to think about it. Mark Hamill's in the movie. He plays the bad guy, and he's
a
magnificent voice.
fantastic actor in this movie. His voice acting is really, really like just supreme.
So Sheeta falls straight down, passes out somewhere along the way, probably due to lack of oxygen from the upper atmosphere. Falls. The crystal fires off and saves her by slowing her descent to a gentle float down. She's floating down, floating down, floating down. Patsu appears. He gets some dinner from a local vendor. Talks about how he's working late night at the mines because they're super busy.
And then they proceed to find nothing.
Yeah, they're super busy doing fuck all, apparently.
He's like really excited. He's like, it's actually busy for once. And then they all like, I guess we're not finding anything, going home.
Yeah, things just sort of happen around these characters. So Patsu sees this shiny, bright thing falling from the sky, and he goes, "Is that a body?" And he's running off, and he gets back to the mine, and he runs down, and he gets to a midway point in the mine where he's like kind of elevated, and she's not gonna go all the way past him, and he sees it's this girl, and he's like, that's fucking crazy, and he just like sets down the meal that he got, and he sticks his arms out, and she sort of floats down onto his arms, but she's still floating because of the crystal, and so he's got her, and then the crystal light sort of fades, and then she drops like a rock because she still weighs normal people amounts of weight, and Patsu this is the first of many instances where Patsu is the strongest human alive. Because he goes from standing knees locked, arms straight out over a precipice, holding her as she floats, to her weighing things again, and his back and his knees all give out at the same time, and he gets down into like the deepest squat, like he hits his ass on the ground underneath him, and she's like below his feet, and he's like lower back tears it asunder as he stands all the way back up with her, and then he sets her down, and he has to go do like work and shit. And
I will say it wasn't until you kind of brought it to my attention, but the feats of strength that Patsu presents,
he has
in
grip
this movie.
strength that would make modern day blacksmiths envious.
Like, he's so strong. Like, I haven't watched this movie in quite some time, and I did watch it for the first time when I was pretty young. And to me, I was never like, I never really thought about it, but now as
He's just so strong.
As an adult, I'm like, that's a lot of upper body strength you got there.
And lower body strength. He runs. Dude, did you see? There's another example. When he leaves the military base and he runs all the way back to the town, and then he gets on the flyer with the Dola gang and they fly back to the military base. It takes him like 3 hours to fly back to the base. He ran nonstop from the base to his home.
Patsu's a superhero.
Patsu is not a real human being. Dude is a figment of her imagination.
James is still living in the highly strong, she's dead category.
She's dead. Also, Patsu has like 19 jobs. He has to assist with running all the gear in the mines. He also has to wake up the entire town with a bugle. Also, what kind of a town is situated just on cliffs? I mean, like, there are houses built directly into the side of cliffs with no access points to them at all. which is a very pretty thing to see. But if you think about it with any amount of logic, you sit there and go, how do people live here? I don't understand.
It was something James brought. He made me pause the movie, and I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Are those houses there?" And I was like, "Yes." And he's like, "How do
you
people get there?"
How
And
do you
I
get
was
to
like,
them?
"I don't know."
Dude, one earthquake and the whole city falls into the gorge or into the ocean or whatever.
I think it's like a yeah. I think it's like
I
a
think it's a
gorge.
ravine.
Yeah, it's like
Uh,
they say it's a valley, but there's clearly a ravine in the
Yeah.
valley. So
Patsu also like in a as Shida wakes up in his house, and also Patsu lives alone in this house.
yeah, he's an orphan.
Well, everyone's an orphan, okay? Patsu wakes up and wakes up the town with his bugle. It also wakes up Shida. Shida wakes up and they have a quick conversation. They feed some birds. Patsu's got Riz like a motherfucker. But he's also dumb. He is a himbo, and there is no getting around that.
He's smooth. He's smooth though.
He's smooth, but he's not trying to get any, so that makes him a himbo.
He very much was just like, I thought you were an angel the way you fell down from the sky, and I was like, my heart, my young childhood heart was like, I love you, Patsu.
So Patsu takes the crystal and he goes, "Watch this," and he jumps off his roof.
Because he was trying to explain to her.
He was trying to science his way through what the crystal does, but he doesn't know how the crystal works. There's a very scientific method here of trying to figure out how it works, and instead he just falls 2 stories through some bricks.
To be fair, Shida doesn't know how it works either. And
that's true.
That's why he was trying to show her, is because she's like, "What do you mean my crystal was floating?" I think for most of her life she thought it was just a family heirloom necklace.
Sure. So he falls. He gets just shit on by this fall, and like bricks are on him and stuff, and he's like, ow.
Patsu has to be a superhero.
And then Shida falls on him from another 10 feet up, and like impact, like body on body, just wrecks his shit. And he's underneath her going, It's the only time he's ever in actual pain.
He has to be a superhuman.
He also got shot in the face and did not flinch.
Yeah, he has to be a superhuman. He has superhero strength. He's super fast, and he's basically indestructible.
He's just One Punch Man. So, he decides that he's gonna make some breakfast for them. And so he cooks up some eggs and shit, and then they get interrupted. Well, they don't get interrupted. He calls her to breakfast, and she's like staring at this poster because his dad found the lost city of Laputa. Sorry, Laputa.
Laputa.
Whatever. Miyazaki didn't know it was bad.
Laputa.
It's one of the only things in the fucking trivia is that he didn't know it was bad. And if
he knew.
He didn't know.
Well, he found out.
Well, yeah, people fucking told him.
Oh.
Because in Spanish it means the whore. And he was like, oh, it doesn't mean anything in English, nor does it mean anything in Japanese, so it doesn't. I'm sorry. If I had known it meant that in Spanish, I would not have named it that. But yeah, the poor guy was just, writing away. And then everyone was like, hey, in Spanish, that means the whore. And he went, oh, no.
I never really thought about it until you said it. So I'm in the Miyazaki boat of I was just like, Laputa, it's a pretty name.
The whore. Oops. So the many entities that are coming to get the crystal have tracked it to this town, and somehow they all get to Patsu's house at the same time.
Yes.
Which is just incredibly convenient. So Patsu and...
Well, actually, it's just the pirates that get to Patsu's house. They don't run into the military until the train.
The pirates, yes, that's true. The pirates get there, and Patsu and Shida bug out with Shida disguised as a boy. They fool the pirates for like 35 seconds, and then they have to book it. They book it straight into town.
One of them finds her dress and is like, she's in disguise. So...
But yeah, that's why I say they got fooled for 30 seconds. So they run into town. They go find Patsu's boss, who is just absolutely gonna go blow for blow with all of these fucking pirates. He is the man's man. And so then we are treated to the slowest fist fight of all time as two guys who are just obsessed with being tough slowly punch each other until the whole town jumps the pirates, which I think is hilarious.
I think it starts more like as a feats of strength.
Sure, because they both rip their shirts with their barrel chests, and then they punch each other and sweat, and then they punch each other a bunch more.
And the mob mentality takes over.
The mob mentality does take over. Also, why does every antagonistic woman in Miyazaki films look the same?
Because Dola looks like the witch.
Dola looks like the witch, who also looks like Sophie?
No, the
Sophie's,
other witch.
Sophie's old form. Yes, because Sophie's elderly form looks like the
But
witch
she's not an
from
antagonist. You
Spirited
said
Away.
the witch in Howl's Moving Castle also looked like the witch in Spirited Away.
They all have the same face, is what I'm saying.
I think
Easy design, I guess.
I think Miyazaki really knew how to draw one lady, and that was
Not
it.
a pretty one. The children escape out the back, dip out into the rest of the mining town. The Madame Dola, the pirate queen, fucking spies them through spyglass and is like, "We gotta get the boys!" and takes their car through town to get the boys. Also throws a grenade at the townspeople, like a whole entire.
I thought it was a Molotov.
No. She throws it's the German grenade from World War II. It's the steel hand grenade.
Oh, okay.
I know this because I played video games religiously.
I always thought it was a Molotov all this time.
It's a potato masher grenade. It's like a square charge that's activated when you twist the thing at the bottom of the handle and you eat. It's like pulling the pin on a pineapple grenade.
Is that what they're called?
Not officially, I don't think.
Okay.
But their shape is reminiscent of a pineapple. It's like a layman's term for it. This is the first instance of Patsu having information he should not have, in that he knows who the pirate gang is.
They could be infamous.
They could be infamous, but it is never stated that they are infamous, so we don't know why Patsu knows who they are. Not a huge deal, but it's the first of many occasions where Patsu knows too many things.
We can just add super intelligence to his list of superpowers.
This begins a chase sequence of the pirates chasing the kids and causing an insane amount of destruction to the town.
Yeah, can we talk about the infrastructural damage and how much that would cost to repair?
Like Avengers Battle the Aliens in New York levels of infrastructure damage to this mining town.
It will take them decades to repair that railroad.
Years to repair the railroad. Also, then the military shows up, and we're like, hooray, the guys with guns are here. But then the guys with guns have the fucking Colonel Musco with them, and that's no good. So now those guys are also the bad guys. Through a myriad of series of events, the pirates are shooting at the military's shooting at the pirates, everybody wants Sheeta, the railroad falls apart, and Patsu has got a hand on one railroad spar as it's swaying, and he's got Sheeta wrapped around him like a huggable teddy bear, and they're dangling, and he's just hanging there, and he's just hanging there, and he's just hanging there. And I don't know how many 13-year-old boys you know who can hold their own body weight and dangle with one arm, but also hold a female of the equivalent age on their one arm. But he holds until his grip slips. And then they fall, and they fall very far, and everyone just sort of watches it happen. And then the crystal kicks in again, and they start floating, and they float down into the mines, and Patsu and Sheeta are like ecstatic that they've seen it happen. It's crazy, it's wild, it's a magic crystal. They make it down into the mines, dip into an offshoot tunnel, where they decide they're going to have a snack. And Patsu busts out the toast and the eggs that he cooked earlier this morning. I don't know what kind of magic happens to Miyazaki eggs, but I know if you cook an egg and then have a morning's worth of adventures, and then pull that egg out of your pocket, that egg is not edible. It's just not. Cold eggs are bad. Cold, abused, sweaty, awful eggs. Horrible. And they slurp them up right there. They make a whole. It's all animated. They just suck them down like noodles.
They're hungry.
Runny egg that's cold in your mouth. Does it not just make you go?
I've never been really hungry when it's time to eat an egg, so I wouldn't know.
I cannot believe they had the egg. Anyway, they eat their horrifying snack, and then they are greeted by Uncle Palm. Uncle Palm is like a crazy old coot, and he says crazy shit to them about how the rocks are alive and shit, and they talk to you. And then he blows out his lantern, and then he is no longer a crazy motherfucker because the rocks all glow. And then he explains to them about this magical thing called Ethereum, which is coincidentally named because a form of money in D&D is called Ethereum, and it's the dumbest currency.
I think Ethereum, though, as a concept is pretty cool. Like that.
The way it works in this movie?
Well, in it too, the fact that it's just it's another societal commentary about how like we have this rich resource that people could definitely be utilizing that would be more efficient and better than the resources that they are using, and we're just not.
Yes.
Because Ethereum is everywhere, and he makes a point of talking about how at one point humans knew how to mine it, which is how Laputa exists. And then humans just stopped and forgot, and now everybody's poor.
And then Uncle Palm has this whole like episode where like she pulls her crystal out and it's singing and stuff, and he's like, put it away, it's too much for my old frail body.
It's too pure, it's too loud. I mean, for someone who listens to the rocks all the time, and
it must just be screaming.
It's also bright as shit.
It is bright. Like, it lights up the whole thing.
When you've been in the darkness for so long, and then you look at a really bright thing, I could see it.
How do they get captured? I don't recall how they go from
they
Uncle
leave
Palms
the mine.
to capture.
They leave the mines and they go up on the hill and talk for a minute.
Well, don't do that shit, because they go and get themselves captured, and the military takes both of them, separates the two of them, keeps Sheeta in a fancy room, and tosses our boy Patsu into like a dungeon-esque room.
I think it's pretty clear that Muska intends to, because he's the quote-unquote king descendant, and she's the princess descendant. I think his whole intent is to wed.
That's a polite word.
And repopulate Laputa as the new king? I guess?
Listen, everyone's so fucking skeevy and perverted in this movie. And Muska is honestly one of the least showcasey about it.
There is something to be said, though, and it doesn't make it right, and it doesn't make it okay, and I'm not saying that I agree with it, but the legal age of consent in Japan is 13.
Huh. Anyway, everybody wants to fuck up her life, just tremendously. So Muska goes on this whole thing where he and the general, who's played by Jim Cummings, magnificent actor, need to get information out of her about where Laputa is. They do a bunch of different stuff to try to get her to talk, and she's actually just ignorant of what Laputa is or where it is and how to make the crystal work or anything. So then they
make a deal.
Make a deal with her to let Patsu go if she will cooperate with them, which is actually the best kind of deal that could have been reached because she actually doesn't know anything. So she could cooperate all she wants. It won't benefit them at all.
She very accidentally the rest of the
Yeah,
plot.
she accidentally is her way to winning, but loses a bunch of times on the way there.
Well, I'm also saying she accidentally is the rest of the plot because she just says some old like spell that her grandmother told her, and it just happens to be the correct one.
Yes, and it lights that robot on fire. So Patsu books it home because now he's sad and dejected and doesn't have a direction. So he goes home and is immediately tied up and captured by the pirates, who I guess just know where he lives.
He broke. Well, they did find him.
Oh yeah,
there.
they did find him there.
They broke into his house and just ate all his shit.
They ate all his food, and then he convinces them to let him go with them. And Mama Dola goes, "You know what? She'll behave better if you're there. That's a great idea. You leave in 1 minute." And so they fucking wrap dinner and get the fuck out of there.
I mean, Patsu has a little bit of self-serving in this because his dad originally found Laputa and everyone called him crazy, and that's quote-unquote what led him to his demise. We don't really know what that is, but
we don't know.
But that's basically what happened, is that his father was flying, found Laputa, came back and told everyone, and everyone's like, "You're insane." And so I think Patsu has some stake in this whole mission of just trying to prove
that his dad wasn't crazy.
Yeah, prove that his dad wasn't crazy, and he also wants to find Laputa. So he does have some stake in the game that's not just based around Sheeta.
Yes. So they go rescue Sheeta. Sheeta says a magic spell from her little trapped room, which activates the robot, who is missing 1 foot and 1 arm.
The robot fell from the sky.
Yes.
In, like, before the movie started, the robot had fallen from the sky, which is how people started even looking for Laputa, like the government. Because they found the robot and they were like, "Oh shit, maybe it's real." And so that's what kind of started this whole expedition from the government side to find Laputa. And I think I've kind of cracked it here. The only reason that Dola knows is because she's constantly like monitoring.
She's got their codes cracked.
Yeah, she's code breaking against the military to go basically beat the military to any treasure, which is probably how she figures out about Laputa and the crystal in the first place, is just listening to those transpondents.
I don't know. So a series of straight up death befalls a bunch of the military guys as the big old ship Goliath has been called in to do the search, and the robot activates and just goes ape shit on everybody. And I mean, it's indestructible to small arms fire. It has a laser beam eye which carves through stone like it's melty butter. This dude is out here to commit violence, and also save the royalty of Laputa, but it only recognizes Sheeta as the royalty of Laputa because of her crystal. So, the base is basically assaulted, and the robot gets shelled from right there, and it survives the first salvo. Honestly, it just dents the hell out of its chest, and it's like it's not good, but it's still functioning. And then it gets hit again, and that really puts it down.
The hardest part for me in this movie is actually, like, I feel really bad about the robots. All the robots, because, like, they're clearly, like, have some sentience. Like, there's one that's just, like, genuinely kind to animals that's still kicking around, and this one's just trying to protect Sheeta, and it's like, yeah, they're not, like, living creatures, they're robots, but I don't know, I still feel sad for, like, all of them, including all those ones that, like, die at the end and stuff. I'm just like, what? The robots just seem like genuinely cool dudes who just want to take care of the city. Like, why we gotta do that to them? So I honestly get upset every time, and maybe it's some traumatic experiences from, like, the Iron Giant that are locked in my head. But yeah, no, I get really sad about every robot who dies in this fucking movie.
All right, I'm well past halfway in my notes. I don't know if you want to call this and do 2 episodes, or if you
Yeah.
just want to push through.
No, we can do 2 episodes. This is
All right.
this is a good place for 2 episodes.
Cool.
So we will not be doing a live vote today because we had a tie last time. But we will stop this episode here and we'll come back in part 2. All right, live people. Shut up. We will not be doing a vote today, as I just said, because we had a tie last time, which means we'll be watching Blazing Saddles. Nope. Bullet Train. We already watched Blazing Saddles. Bullet Train is the next one, that we will be watching. And yeah, we will be back after a short break. Alright. We're waiting for James's coffee to be done. So until then, we're just gonna hang out. Let's see. See what's in the news today. Nothing good, but we can at least look. Um, hmm. There's like literally no news today. I mean, there's a serial killer in Austin, but we all knew that. I went on the river this weekend and got sunburned, which you can kind of see in the camera. I won't show my feet because I'm not doing that for free. But I got crazy tan lines on my feet and my stomach and honestly everywhere. I didn't get like super burned. My face did because I don't think I put any sunscreen on my face. But no, I just look patchy. It's really bad. Powerball drawing was tonight. Um, bunch of movies are on hold because of the strike. So if you want your favorite movies to get made, yell at corporate, eat the rich. I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. Fuck them, honestly. I literally don't care. All red carpet festivities for Oppenheimer were canceled. The cast for that walked out this week, so that's not surprising. Which honestly, yeah. Which is, it sucks because Barbie and Oppenheimer were both going to be like super huge. And right now, I mean, I want to go see Barbie and I want to go see Oppenheimer. Like we had planned, I think I had convinced James to go see Barbie at Alamo. But we won't be doing that because obvious reasons. See, Gladiator 2 is on hold. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2. Didn't know it was going to be a two-parter, but there we go. Can we stop making those? Please? I know Deadpool's not on this list, but I know Deadpool's on hold right now. We're getting our first quote-unquote senior citizen bachelor, which is cool. Quote-unquote senior, like, I don't think they're that old. People are mad at Tom Holland because of his role in this new show that he's in, because he plays a gay character, and people are mad. Wah. People are mad at the new Snow White movie. And there was just another one. What was the other one? Oh, and the new How to Train Your Dragon movie. Because of blind casting. Which, I mean, is what it is. People gonna feel how they're gonna feel, I guess. All I'll say is, when do we go? Like, when do we draw the line of like other people's cultures? Because I mean, Snow White is fine. It's been a fairy tale that's been done so many times, but How to Train Your Dragon is strictly a Norse movie about Norse people and making one of the main characters who is a very Norwegian looking person with blonde hair, blue eyes, and a Viking, a person of color. I feel like we're traipsing on other people's cultures at that point. Um, so it's like I feel like we're swinging too far in the other direction. Instead, we should be writing characters. We should be writing characters that are people of color and giving them really awesome roles that they can make that are their own and can have their own stories instead of shoving them into roles that are not necessarily for people of color. And the Snow White character, I think she's Latina. So, like, I don't know. I don't really care one way or the other. I worry that we're going too far. I worry that we're going too far the other way. And then we're going to be starting to affect other people's cultures who just because they're white doesn't mean that they're not of a culture. Not that the Vikings were particularly good people, but it is a proud heritage. Peter Dinklage actually said some interesting stuff. He's found it. He said he quote unquote found it backward for Disney to promote casting a Latina actress as Snow White. This is Peter Dinklage's words, not mine. He said, take a step back and look at what you're doing there. It makes no sense to me. You're progressive in one way because they're not using dwarf actors to play the seven dwarves. And you're still making that fucking backward story about seven dwarves living in a cave together. What the fuck are you doing, man? So he's saying like you're making progress by casting a person of color, but you're still making a movie about dwarves. So like pick a lane and stay in it, basically. I don't know. It'll be curious to see what they do with that. Alaska had a really bad earthquake, but the tsunami warning was lifted, so no tsunami.
Huge earthquake though. Oh.
What happened to you?
I sat down too hard.
Don't do that.
Oh, okay.
The heat storm, quote unquote, stretches into southern Europe.
Ew.
Health alerts have been issued because I don't know if you guys know this, but Europe's not used to that kind of shit. They literally do not know how to cope. It's kind of like Canada when it got too hot.
And it caught on fire.
The different years, but yes.
Ah.
All right, you ready?
Where were we?
It's a great question. Let me think. Because I got into
They were going back to rescue Sheeta.
yeah, they had just picked up Patsu. Like I went on a whole tangent about color casting and quoting Peter Dinklage and all sorts of stuff. So, here we go. Ready? Set. We're back.
So it takes Patsu so short of an amount of time to run home, right? But then it takes them like 100 million hours to fly back to the military base to rescue Sheeta. I'm just saying, it's got to be an illusion because this whole movie's sense of time is thrown way the hell off.
That's James. I'm America. Just a reminder in case you missed our speech at the beginning of last episode.
As of the time of recording, we're on strike.
Yeah, SAG and WGA are on strike. We are not making this to promote any studios. We will only be supporting the artists. And yeah, if you want to hear the full spiel about it, you can listen to our last episode. We're not being paid. We're not under contract or any way to support any particular studio right now. We're just making this as an artist supporting artists and that sort of thing. Please support the strike. There will be links to it in our live stream description as well as in our podcast description. So please go support the strike in any way you can, even if it's just a hashtag. So, that being said, Castle in the Sky.
Miyazaki.
Patsu.
Now,
Time travel.
The pirates have teamed up with Patsu to go get Sheeta. And so they do. I mean, it's kind of that simple. They roll up and they pick up Sheeta. It takes them 2 passes, but they finally get her. We see the sad destruction of the robot. She also loses her crystal in the process, but they get away. Now, of course, because plot has to plot, Muska's people find the crystal.
Yep.
And everyone sort of saw which way the beam of light from the crystal pointed, so everyone just sort of knows where they're going now. All factions involved know what they're about. So the pirates abscond into the stratosphere. The Goliath gets all its people aboard, and it sets off as well, and somehow gaps them, but then doesn't somehow. I don't know. It's weird. Speed is not real.
I mean, it could be said that the pirates could go faster because their ship is smaller.
Maybe, I don't know. What I do know is all of these pirates want to fuck Sheeta. All of them.
I don't think Dola does.
I know. Dola wants to have 7 more teeth. Because she only has like 5.
Does she really? I've never noticed.
Yeah, it's one of my notes is why are Dola's teeth so horrible?
I don't think pirates really get a good dental plan in their profession. Sure. So
they're also dressed like medieval knights without their helmets.
Yeah,
which is weird, but I didn't really feel like complaining about.
I mean, aerodynamics. Costume. They're holding their hair in so that they can fly their little buzzy ships around. Yeah.
It's also funny because they're supposed to be a family, right?
Well, I don't think all of them are her children. I do think
they all call her mom.
No, because at one point, one of them says, "Go tell your mother that we found the clothes." So I don't think all of them are her children.
You could be right there.
I think that
there is a select group that are her children.
I think there are some that are directly her children, and I think that she's just like the mom of the ship, so it's just kind of like they all call her mom.
Okay.
But I don't think all of them are directly related to her.
Well, they're all unstable and insane.
Yes. But I feel like you would have to be to work for Dola for any period of time.
Yeah, and they're all just so damn horny for this child.
I don't think they get around many women. And also, they are pirates. That is stereotypical of their...
Right, but this is a kid's movie, and I don't like it. So, they go about and they put Patsu with their dad, I guess. He's basically the ship maintenance man. And
we call those engineers.
He's an engineer. And Patsu is like the greatest. he's the strongest man alive, so he's great when it comes to like doing stuff. So Patsu and Dr. Eggman hit it off. Um, what else goes on? The sequence where they're on the ship is kind of just uncomfortable because it's just sort of like, this is your life now that you're part of the crew, and they've become pirates. They straight up just become pirates. um Patsu is like the assistant to the engineer. Sheeta gets lumped in on kitchen duty.
She is a girl.
um and so they go about their business, and eventually all the guys find themselves worming their way into the kitchen to try and work around Sheeta more, with the bearded gentleman who got his shit rocked by the mining boss, uh, legitimately bursting down the door with flowers, proclaiming his love for Sheeta, which is maybe the most uncomfortable the movie can make you in that moment.
Oh, really? I feel like a mustache man and like leaning in on the door was way more uncomfortable than that guy professing love for
I
her.
mean, it was uncomfortable enough, and then it's just like, it's stating out loud the thing that you have not been stating out loud and you have only been implying.
Fair.
And I think that's what really tipped the scales for me, because it was like, oh man, they're really implying this weird attraction to this child, and they just keep doing that. That's weird, and I don't like it. And then the bearded boy busts in and he's like, I love you. And you go, oh, no, no, no. But it's also hand in hand with one of the funnier moments of the movie, with one of the guys peeling potatoes is confronted by his maybe brother going, what are you doing here? And he goes, helping.
It is a great
In
moment.
such a tiny little voice, he just, helping. Just as he peels the potatoes, it's hilarious.
I also, again, we do have to take culture into consideration here, and we talked about it briefly last episode, but in Japan, nobody really bats an eye at the age of the child, just due to the age of consent there. It's something that I had to come to terms with in anime a lot, because it would feel like there's a lot of sexualization of young girls in anime cartoons, but it's created in a different culture where that's not necessarily a taboo thing. So there's that. There's my disclaimer that we do have to kind of like, it's not great and it's not good and it's not something that we personally support, and it does make you feel really creepy. But the culture of origin wouldn't necessarily see it that way. Are you gonna Google? You gonna do a Google right now?
When did that?
Ooh, when did that happen? Ooh, it got changed to 16.
This year, I think.
Oh shit! Congrats,
For
Japan.
the first time since 1907.
I mean, 16's not great, but it's better. But at this time of this movie, it definitely still was.
It would have been 13.
And with most animes who were made before this year, yeah, it would be 13. But it's great that that's huge. That's huge, actually, that it got bumped up 3 years. I'm really stoked for all the young girls in Japan. Again, 16, still not great, but it's a heck of a lot better than 13. Bless you.
Criminy.
So it's really it still should be like 18. You should be an adult.
An almost entirely fully formed person.
But not our culture, not our decision. Also, I don't know what's considered a technical adult in Japan. I think that's different there too. But yeah, there you go. Congrats, Japan, on slightly moving forward to join the rest of the world.
Okay, so
Creepy men
also
helping in the
Anna
kitchen
Paquin did the voiceover for Sheeta
in the dubbed
in
version.
the dub, and she just like every once in a while will have a different accent. And it's not one that's like, oh, that's an immediately noticeable this variety of European accent. It's like an almost Irish accent or an almost English
I wonder
accent.
if she was trying to hide her own accent.
Does Anna Paquin have an accent?
I don't know.
Is Anna Paquin from somewhere that is not America?
I don't know.
We're gonna
I
find
don't
out.
know a lot about Anna Paquin.
Finding out right now.
Who's faster?
She's from Canada.
Oh, so it could be almost like a Canadian accent that she's trying to disguise so she doesn't sound like too.
Could be.
Like she could almost have a French
she
accent.
Plays Rogue.
No fucking way.
In X-Men, yeah, she plays Rogue.
Oh hell yeah. Well then, yes, she does have a very interesting.
She's got an accent.
She has an accent. It definitely doesn't sound like her one in Castle in the Sky, but she does have a very unique voice. When she does Rogue, she has a bit of an accent too, but it's a different one. So I wonder if it's just her choice as an actress.
Oh,
I like her voice.
She also grew up in New Zealand.
Yeah, there it is.
All right, we've tracked it. We've figured it out. Excellent. Okay.
I think a lot of that would come from her either trying to like tone down her accent so that she's easier to understand, or trying to not use it at all.
After the first like day in the sky, they need to keep watch to keep an eye out for Goliath. So one of the guys wakes up Patsu and is like, "It's your turn to take watch." Blah blah blah. And so they go, and Patsu climbs up to the crow's nest with a blanket because it's cold out there, which basically involves being unharnessed and climbing up the side of the blimp.
Yeah.
And he climbs up to the top, hops in, and then Sheeta also heard and saw him go up there, so she sneaks out and climbs up there.
And Dola sees her too.
Dola sees her, and then also you can hear everything around the ship through various interconnected tubes that are used to relay messages, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So Dola just listens in while these two are up in the crow's nest having
She opens the comm tube in her room that connects to that one up there. So I think like you have to like open it. I don't think you can just like. And maybe if they had closed their end too, but I don't think they would know to do that necessarily.
No, it's their first night on the ship, so they have a little heart-to-heart
that everyone can hear. People in the
everyone's listening.
People in the steering room. I'm not good at ships.
The bridge,
and Dola.
The steering room.
The steering room. The place where the people drive the boat.
I don't know ships.
I don't know.
I know
the bow, starboard, port, and stern.
Do you know where any of those are?
Bow's at the front, stern's at the back. Starboard is left. Port is right.
I don't know. I don't sail. So they're just sort of chilling there, and then Patsu figures out that there's this weird shadow underneath their ship. And he radios it in as Goliath bursts through the clouds from below them. And they have to take emergency evasive maneuvers as they get shot at, and they have to dip into the clouds. As Goliath has found them somehow.
It's the other way. Port's on the left.
Damn.
I was so close.
So close. So they dip into the clouds. The Goliath is shooting at them and everything. Then it's decided that they can't go get the kids out of the crow's nest, but they need to keep an eye out for the Goliath. So they're going to turn the crow's nest into a kite, which is one of the dopest ideas I've seen in an airship associated movie.
I want to fly in that kite so bad.
I definitely don't. So the crow's nest basically sprouts wings and a tail. It pops out. It is connected to the main ship by cable.
Are you sure you're a Gryffindor?
I want control. Yes.
And I feel like you'd have the courage if you were in the situation, but you're not looking for places to put yourself in danger.
I'm not actively seeking out danger.
So you're not dauntless.
I just find myself in it. Danger finds me. And more often than not, I don't know how to handle it, and my face gets the impact. So they go up in the crow's nest, then they find a fucking hurricane, but it's not a hurricane. It's actually just the city of Lapis Lazuli or whatever the fuck.
Laputa?
Sure. So they find the floating city, and it's just shrouded in clouds that are also a hurricane. Goliath finds it also.
You have to fly through the hurricane to get to Laputa.
Yes. So the unfortunately, Goliath finds the pirates too, and broadsides them proper good this time. Explodes all the pirates, and their ship tumbles off into the storm. Meanwhile, Patsu and Sheeta
In the kite
basically just sort of glide their way through the storm, and then crash land on the island. We don't see what happens to Goliath. Then Patsu and Sheeta wake up in the flowers as they are in the upper gardens. They take in their surroundings, and it's this beautiful place.
It's so pretty. I want to live there so bad.
And then one of the big old robot guardians shows up and picks up their glider, which has landed on top of a bird's nest, but has not destroyed the bird's nest. Sets the glider off to the side. And so then they follow this robot guy back to the central garden, where they find basically a mass grave kind of monument thing. I don't know. I also don't know what happened to the people of Laputa.
I think that some bad things happened, and which is what the mass grave is for, and then a bunch of them decided that, like basically it'd be safer on the ground. Like I feel like a bunch of people were like, Laputa's too much power. Like it shouldn't be owned by one person or any one group of people. So they all went back to the ground. I think. I don't really know. It's not made clear what happened to Laputa.
A lot of stuff just doesn't have explanation.
But we do know that some of the people of Laputa did move to Earth.
Yes. So, pardon me. Oh my goodness. So they see this grave, and then they hear this big explosion, which is the military, who has docked Goliath at the bottom of the city, sacking the city and just stealing all the treasure, which just makes them more organized pirates. They have also captured the Dola gang, who has survived barely and crashed into the ship as well.
Their ship is messed the fuck up.
It's very badly damaged. So while all these military guys are on board Laputa, kids try to find their way down to help Dola gang. And while all this is going down, Muska has destroyed most of the radios on the ship on Goliath because he has a different agenda.
His agenda is to rule the world.
His agenda is to Hitler as hard as he can.
Literally.
So he does all that, and then the kids are about to get into position to rescue the Dola gang, and then Patsu gets discovered and starts getting shot at, and then Sheeta, in all her infinite wisdom, decides to throw herself with no weapons headlong at the fucking secret agent boys.
Muska and his two
I can't remember anyone's name all at once, and it's really disconcerting. So she throws herself at them, and successfully gets herself captured. And Patsu gets a grenade thrown at him. He also gets shot in the face.
Another bout of Patsu survives this.
Patsu survives a hand grenade and a bullet to his face.
Plus several other rounds shot at him.
They all miss though, but he does get one that like hits him and tears his face up. This is a child, by the way. He then manages to remove a couple of bricks from underneath where Mamadola is sitting, and tells them that he's going to free them and tells them to book it as soon as he does. Cuts her loose, gives her the knife, and she tells him, "Take this, you'll need it," and dumps a whole grenade launcher out of her girdle directly into his hands, along with extra ammunition, which is dope. And so he goes, "Great," and dips. Muska has the crystal, and
Sheeta,
who has a different name because she's the princess of the
They
city.
have longer names that are Laputan names.
Laputan names.
Is it Laputan?
Yeah.
Laputan names, you could give me $1,000 right now.
I think hers is Lucita.
Hers is Lucita, his is something else.
It doesn't matter, they both end with the same last name. They have the same surname, which is concerning.
Yeah, which it would, I mean...
It makes all the perviness even more uncomfortable.
Yeah, but also, again, if we're talking about, like, royal bloodlines, not that unusual.
True, but he also is more than willing to just kill her at the end of this movie. At the drop of a hat, he would kill her with no second.
I mean, I think ideally he would like her to be his betrothed, quote unquote, because they are both of Laputan bloodline, but I also think his main goal is just to be the king of Laputa, and he will do anything to achieve that, even if it means killing her off. But I think, yeah, in his ideal world, his ideal plan is that they would rule together, quote unquote.
Maybe. I don't know. It's fucking weird. So, using the locket, the secret agents and Sheeta worm their way through the tunnels on the interior of the technological side of the city. Then they leave the two secret agent men in this maze-like space.
I don't think we've said it, that Laputa was like a severely
a technologically advanced city.
Yeah, like they were way ahead of the time as far as technology and everything else, mainly because of their use of Ethereum. I in my head, which also makes sense as to why I love this movie very much, I kind of think of Laputa as like an in the sky version of Atlantis. Because Atlantis was, and it might even be Miyazaki using the story of Atlantis to kind of like riff off of, but that's kind of what it feels like, is this highly advanced society that basically disappeared. And I love Atlantis. It's like one of my favorite things. I'm a full believer that it's somewhere at the bottom of the ocean. Whether it has people on it or not, still, I do think it's somewhere at the bottom of the ocean. But it's one of the reasons I love Castle in the Sky so much, is because Laputa's basically just a Atlantis in the sky. But yeah, highly advanced technology is insane. And it's powered by Ethereum. So yeah, I think as I realized we were about to get into like the really nitty gritty of like how all the things Muska is about to do with Laputa, it would make sense to make sure that we mentioned that it was a highly advanced society with lots of technology.
What's really kind of interesting to me is that Muska didn't know that the city existed. It was a myth. Then the robot fell out of the sky, and then he was like, okay, maybe it's not a myth. And then he got his hands on some ancient texts that he talks about, talking about the technological advances of the city. And then I guess somehow he knows he's royalty.
Or it could be said that like it was part of his family history too. Maybe. Or like a family story about Laputa and like their heritage, but he didn't believe it, and then the robot fell out of the sky and he was like, oh shit, great granddaddy grandpappy was right all along, and I am a descendant of Laputan people. And now I've got to get back to my powerful castle in the sky.
I don't know. So they leave the two secret agent guys in a maze that doesn't make sense. Go to, I guess, like a control room of sorts. And because the people have abandoned the city, it's just super overgrown, and the roots from that big like all tree have broken through into the technological side of the city. Just and this is where he gets like unhinged as a character. Musica is like, I'll burn all of these roots when I'm king, and just goes ballistic about how everything is unclean and filthy.
Two things with that. One, how do we know that that's not how it was? Because it seems like the Laputians were pretty in tune with nature. I mean, based on the fact that it's built on a giant tree and has all this stuff. And two, nature gonna do what it gonna do, and that place hasn't been touched for decades upon decades.
I think it's a couple centuries.
Yeah. So feel like you're gonna have to let that go, my man. Like the nature had that was the nature's place.
Yeah, but he doesn't know anything. He's an idiot. So he takes the crystal and finds his way to a control room. At this point, the soldiers have discovered his betrayal, and so the soldiers and the general all start hunting him down. And then he becomes an entire Nazi.
It does give the Dola gang a chance to escape, though, when the military go after Mutska.
Yep. So the military tries to run him down, and they all get funneled into this like strange chamber that's got like a hologram thing in it, and
it's like an observatory
glass.
Almost.
Yeah, it's weird. So Muska punches out a bunch of fucking in his holograph form. Well, he from the room they're controlling in, there's a holograph a la Star Wars, which he descends of him and what's her face,
Sheeta,
sure, into the room with the military, and they are bamboozled by this, believing it to be the actual people, which just tells you they're all fucking idiots. And he basically shows them that he's got a WMD as he creates a Death Star blast, and just drops a nuke into the ocean, basically.
Huge ass bomb.
Huge explosion. Nearly knocks Patsu off of his dangly perch on the outside of this building. And then the soldiers shoot at his hologram, and he's like, I'm tired of you being stupid. And then he drops all of them into the ocean. Now, this city is flying very high. Very, very high. And Muska's doing all this talking about how he's a higher life form, he's more advanced, blah, 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 blah. Dude was born on Earth, first of all. Second of all, it's a known fact that the Laputians were just humans that were smart and then left Laputa to be on Earth, which is how he came to be, I guess. So, clearly delusional, insane man who believes he is an elevated being. And he's nuked the ocean. Then he dumped almost the entire military into the ocean. And those who didn't get dumped into the ocean sprint at Mach 10 back to their ship. Some of them don't make it. The ship takes off. Dola gang hide in the carcass of their ship and prep their little mini flyers to take off. And then Sheeta like escapes her bonds and runs away.
She knocks him down, grabs the crystal, and takes off.
And just sort of books it, and he just sort of meanders after her.
He does do like a very much like scary horror movie like villain walk towards her. Like he doesn't run, he just slowly walks after her.
And he does the Mark Hamill evil laugh.
Oh, it's so good.
Patent pending, magnificent. truly one of the best evil laughs of the last century.
Easily.
So he goes and he's chasing her down, talking about how they can rule together or whatever. And then Patsu shows up with a grenade launcher, throws his shoes away partway through his climb. Oh, also, they dump maybe 180 of these flying robot guys to finish off the rest of the military, which is cruel and unusual, in my opinion. But they don't shoot their laser eyes; they just sort of like move around. But they're still invincible, so it's kind of like getting moved by a bulldozer. Uh, so finally, Patsu's broken through. Finds a little gap where he can talk to Sheeta. Sheeta tells him to take the crystal and run. Manages to like flick it into his hand, and then she scurries off and is chased down by what's his face, Muska, whatever. Finally, Patsu makes what some might consider to be a mistake, and blows a hole in the wall so he can squeeze through and chase after them. So he does that, scurries through, chases after him. Finally, they all get into a chamber where
the throne room.
The throne room. That's right, the throne room. And Muska starts a monologue about how it's fitting that she would die in the throne room, blah, 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 because now I think he's just going to just kill her. I think he's considered that she's probably just not worth the effort. And he shoots both her pigtails off as she monologues back at him about how this is not a throne room, it's a tomb for you and me. This is where we die.
Yeah, because she basically...
Which is insane.
Yeah.
That's an insane thing. It's such a change from the way that she's behaved in the whole movie. She's not been, like, afraid, really, or a coward or anything, but she's spent most of the movie, like, scurrying and running and just trying to, like, survive. And now in this moment, face down against a man with a whole gun who is shooting at her, she's like, fuck you, this is where you and I die.
Well,
whoa!
I think it's kind of like her character growth of being like, especially as a Laputan, quote unquote.
Bro, she does all her character growth in 4 minutes.
But she does. Well, I mean, I think it's more since she got onto Laputa and she saw all the robots and what happened to the robots, and the amount of power that Laputa has, and they talked about destroying it beforehand to make sure that it didn't get into the wrong hands, like before they even knew the military was there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's just a lot of her like carrying on what her ancestors wanted, which was for Laputa to not be held by any human. I think it's too much power, honestly.
Well, when you can nuke the ocean.
And I think there was a speech about it that like her grandmother gave in a flashback.
Her grandmother gave her the Spider-Man talk about how she has this crystal and it's very powerful, but with great power comes great responsibility. You have to balance the good spells, so you have to know the bad spells so that the good spells have power. It's really good writing. And just if you have power, you have to wield it responsibly. Otherwise, you basically fall to darkness. But it's I won't say it's a trope, but it is the classic, oh, Spider-Man did this. Oh, Star Wars did this. Oh, Miyazaki did this. And that shit all came out in the 80s. So we were really obsessed with power and power tripping in the 80s.
We were also really obsessed with the hero's journey in the 80s. So
Greeks, man, they know what's up.
But yeah, so I think that's kind of
Fuck
her
Shakespeare.
I think that's kind of her
her character growth is you and I die.
Her character growth is I will die to protect, like to save the world from Laputa and to save
the world from you, I will die.
And to save Laputa from you.
Right.
So
then Patsu strikes a deal after they're in a little Mexican standoff because Muska doesn't know where the crystal is. Patsu claims to have hidden it. Sheeta claims that he has thrown it away into the ocean. And Patsu is masterminding this whole idea. in which he holds the Mexican standoff, secures a deal to talk to Sheeta for 1 minute, and then he'll give the crystal up. And so Muska bites and goes, "Yes, absolutely, sure.
Your
You have
minute
a
starts now."
And then Patsu just sort of meanders across this big chamber towards where Sheeta is.
Easily, like,
He wastes maybe 20 seconds of
Yeah.
his minute.
just walking
He's like, "You better
so slowly.
You better pitch real good in the next 40 seconds what your plan is, because you are burning daylight, brother."
I mean, to be fair, he does. He's like,
Oh yeah, it's like a 2-sentence pitch, and he's got her. And they ultimately decide, though you don't actually hear the whole conversation, that they're going to.
he has the crystal.
He has the
on him.
crystal. He says, "Take my hand, whisper the curse to me, and we're going to do the." It's heavily implied we're going to do the spell of destruction, and
Together.
just see what the fuck happens, because they don't know what's going to happen. Why would they know? So they say the spell of destruction, which is one word.
Yeah, I like how
Harry-
the spell to activate the crystal was like a sentence.
Yeah, it was like a
in
whole sentence, like a
Latin?
proper spell, and then this the spell to destroy everything is one word. Take that, Harry Potter, with your fucking Avada Kedavra.
2 words.
That's so many
2.
syllables. You know how it's not very many syllables? Ballast. And then you annihilate a city. So, Harry, man, J.K. Rowling's fucking brain is dumb.
I do like.
Mhm.
Well, I was just gonna say I do like though that one of the things that Patsu did, which just again proves how great a guy Patsu is he took some of the responsibility for the destruction on himself too, so it didn't have to just be Sheeta carrying that burden
Sure.
alone. Like he's like, no, we're gonna do this together.
He's the ultimate himbo.
I love him so much.
You love a himbo.
What is a himbo? What is the definition? 'Cause
Talk about it while I Google it.
I don't feel like you're using it correctly. Or maybe I just don't know what it is. But I feel like a himbo is not what you're using it as.
Technically, according to the Oxford Dictionary, it's an attractive but unintelligent man.
Well, I think Patsu's very intelligent. Yeah, because I was like, if you're using it as a bimbo is an attractive but unintelligent woman.
Think Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove.
Then I would not classify Patsu as a himbo. I'd say he's a ladies' man. He's
Right, but he's not-
charisma. He's got charisma.
He's trying his best, and he drinks respect women juice. Urban Dictionary is wild. Thor, Kronk, and arguably the original himbo himself, Hercules.
Oh god, I hate Hercules.
Hercules doesn't try to fuck, though. In my opinion, the classical, because Patsu's only bright in that he makes the plot happen by saying it out loud. He's kind of like a narrator, but Patsu at no point knows what the fuck is going on. He just makes remarkably good decisions, front to back, and never does anything but try to help Sheeta do stuff. And his main quest turns into his side quest of proving his dad's not crazy. And he does that with such ease upon being given the opportunity to do so. I'm going to continue referring to him as a himbo. It doesn't matter. He's just swell.
He's a great guy.
So
10 out of
they
10.
destroy the city.
We stand with Patsu.
They destroy the city.
They do.
And it...
But only the bottom half. Only the technology
Right.
side.
It really only knocks the technology side off. Yeah, that's like my last note, is that they nuke the city. They knock the bottom half of the city off. They are spared by the vines. Somehow they blind Muska, and then he falls to his doom.
When the explosion, or when they do the spell, like a blinding light shines from them, like from the crystal, like it's like basically if you stared at like a nuke.
I get it, but I think it would be more satisfying if he saw his doom unfold, instead of just blindly stumbling around before falling into the ocean from, I don't know, a couple miles up. But it is fitting that he suffers the same fate as all of the borderline innocent soldiers that he killed moments before.
I mean, they were Russian soldiers, so.
They were Russian?
Hmm.
It's not set in Russia.
No, but the military is Russian. They say that.
What? No.
I'm gonna look it up.
They don't even say what country they're in.
They don't, but they say the military is Russian.
I don't believe you. I strictly do not believe you. The army is whatever country they're in. Just like they don't tell you what the army is in Howl's Moving Castle. So they nuke the city, Muska falls. The Dola gang bails at the last possible second. They're really trying to wait and see if they can get the kids out. The kids are spared by tree roots, classically, because ever since they've been on the city, they're just always spared by tree roots. So they make it back to their glider, which is also somehow wedged in the tree roots now, and push themselves off. They make it back to the Dola gang. The Dola gang reveals that they pocketed a bunch of treasure on their way out, and they tootle around with them for maybe a couple of minutes, and then they split off and go their separate ways, and that's the end of the movie. So ultimately, I think it's the best Miyazaki film I've seen so far. I think it's the plot with the least amount of absolute insane bullshit that's unexplainable. I think the characters make pretty much correct for their character decisions.
I mean, you're right. I don't know where I got Russia from. My apologies.
Yeah. Miyazaki doesn't use countries that are real in any of his movies. He
doesn't. You're right. I don't know. For some reason, I could have sworn, but maybe I'm just crazy.
I think you're just crazy. I was crazy once. So they basically, all the characters make decisions that make sense for their characters, which is cool to see. However, it should be noted that this is, to my knowledge, the first Miyazaki movie, and after the first movie, his characters become unhinged maniacs and make totally irrational decisions that don't make sense and are terrible, just like in all the rest of his movies.
Okay, you've only seen 2 of them, so
I've seen 3 total.
You've seen 3 total, but you've only seen 2 other ones.
Right,
so you can't
the characters in Spirited Away are dumb as hell.
What'd Hero do?
Who's that?
The main character in Spirited Away.
The little girl?
Yeah.
I mean, she just sort of has a panic attack front to back. She might be the only rational character in that movie, because her parents are dumber than rocks.
True.
And actually the most useless human beings alive.
I feel like Sophie made sound choices.
Sophie made a few sound choices, but on the whole, Sophie's plan front to back in that movie, in Howl's Moving Castle, is fuck it, we ball. And just, I'm going to do crazy shit. And it works out for her because she's the protagonist. Howl's decisions also in Howl's Moving Castle are, I'm sad. So
I'm a sad poor rich magician.
I'm sad, extremely wealthy. He's just Batman. Okay? And Howl is just Batman, and he turns himself into a bird, a la the way Batman turns himself into a bat in the nighttime. And it's the same voice actor as 3 Batman movies, okay?
Christian Bale, multiverse confirmed.
You heard it here first. Now, I want to watch Princess Mononoke because it's PG-13, so I think it's going to be gruesome, and I think it's going to be wild, and I think it's going to be just as unhinged as all the other movies, but it might be more entertaining because it's more, like, adversely rated. And I have to watch Totoro because that's the one everyone knows.
Funny story about Totoro, and then we'll probably wrap up here. So my sister, I was on FaceTime with her yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And my brother got her a really cool birthday gift, which was Adventure Time, but it was styled like my neighbor Totoro.
Oh, cool.
And she's like, yeah, you know, the neighbor Toto,
The neighbor Totoro.
And I was like,
not gonna lie to you, I have also referred to Totoro as Toto.
I was like crying, and I was like, "Do you mean my neighbor Totoro?" Like, and because she was just the neighbor Toto,
And she went, "Oh."
And she's like, "Yeah, that one." And I was like on the floor, like crying. I was like,
"Does your sister like Miyazaki
the
movies?"
neighbor Toto.
You know, that weird dog from that movie with Dorothy where they all ingested asbestos and dyed their skin? Yeah. Toto.
But
the dog.
I don't think she's like necessarily like a huge fan, but I don't think she's like against them.
Well,
but anyways, it was just like I was laughing really hard.
If we're gonna give this one a rating, I'm gonna give this one like a solid 7 out of 10. With Spirited Away taking a meager 2, and what's the other one? Howl's Moving Castle taking a 4.5 for Christian Bale having a baller voice acting performance. Actually, in each movie, there's like one character who just puts on a clinic for voice acting. I would have to relook through Spirited Away's cast because I don't remember who it is off the top of my head. But Mark Hamill in this movie just does Joker before Joker, and it's just remarkable. And then Christian Bale in Howl's Moving Castle is just a clinic on voice acting, even though he's a traditional actor. Remarkable.
Guys, my favorite Miyazaki film is James's most highly rated Miyazaki film, and I consider that a win.
Wait until we watch Mononoke and I go 10 out of 10.
Yeah. I'm not a fan.
Wait till I watch Mononoke. Kiki's Delivery Service and go, this is the one.
Kiki's Delivery Service is pretty good.
It's
not my fave, but it's pretty good.
All I know is Miyazaki makes some of the prettiest, most unhinged movies. Up there with like Christopher Nolan making very pretty, absolutely batshit insane movies.
All this to be said, please go support the WGA strike and the SAG-AFTRA strike. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and maybe it'll be over.
And if you really need an explanation as to why the Writers Guild needs a better contract, you're fucking dumb.
Yeah, we'll leave that there.
Just leave it blunt like that. Blunt. I've had too many conversations with people who are like, fuck those rich actors. And it's like, bro, the actors aren't doing it for them, my guy. The actors are doing it for the writers.
And the actors are also doing it for
like, the background actors.
For the young, like the lower totem pole actors. So yeah, no, fuck that shit.
I want to have... You know who I want to talk to about it? I want to talk to my dad about it, because I bet you I can convert him from whatever he thinks about unions to this is what is actually happening. Because I've seen too many background actors post like their residual check stamps on social media.
I wanted to see if Dante Basco is going to...
Oh, Dante. Have you seen some of... Dante,
well, I'm just thinking about his residual check lottery.
Yeah, residual check lottery.
I forgot we're still live.
Dante Bosco's fucking checks. Dante Bosco. Prince fucking Zuko. Among Rufio, goddammit. His residual checks for the shit he has done for big-ass corporations like the Mouse. He doesn't get paid fuck all. Dude is a legendary voice actor.
He's making money on TikTok talking about whether or not he can afford
lunch.
Taco Bell.
Can I get Chipotle or am I eating a cheeseburger?
I think there's one time he got a Pop-Tart from the gas station because the residual check
wasn't
was
like
$1.50
or some shit?
Yeah.
Dude, the absolute chokehold that Hollywood has on actors who aren't like mainline stars is bananas. It's so insane, like, and it's so important to look at the big time actors like Matt Damon's interview he did right when the Screen Actors Guild called the strike, and he got interviewed and then he left the Oppenheimer premiere. I think they were in Europe, but straight up everyone from the cast and the director walked out of their premiere.
They were not premiering in Europe. The premiere was also happening in the UK, but they walked out of the Hollywood premiere.
Walked out of the Hollywood one?
But the person who was running the UK premiere told everyone at the UK because Jack was there. That's the only reason I know.
Oh, he told the folks that the
He
cast had
told the
failed.
folks that because the UK's not under strike, which is why
Different acting guild.
which is why a lot of productions that are happening in the UK, a la what was the TV show that's still oh, isn't it
I don't know.
it's the
There's
Game of Thrones
House of the Dragon, which is filming in Europe, is not shut down, but the contracts for that show are not under SAG. They're under a different acting guild. They're under the UK, the European Acting Guild. It's the same thing for Dune, who is also shooting. They're shooting in Turkey, I believe, and they will not stop production. They are not obligated to. Now, these are productions that can stop should they feel like they want to, but they are not obligated to. And honestly, if I were the actors in these guilds, you didn't need to do that. We're gonna wrap here.
I know. I just felt weird because I forgot we were streaming and I turned everything off, and then I was like, I don't know what to do now.
It's fine.
I thought we'd done.
If I were acting in a production in Europe and my contract was not with SAG, I wouldn't do an ounce of work for SAG. But I sign the contract to finish the shit for this production. Now I'm going to go have a conversation with all the producers of this thing and with all of my fellow castmates. And I'm going to go, well, actually, I'm going to go to my castmates first. And I'm going to go, look, the other guild I'm in is striking. This is not their production. Do we feel like we should call it in solidarity with them, and we'll just start back up when they come back? And if all of my cast and crew was like, absolutely, we will strike in solidarity, I would strike in solidarity. But I would not feel obligated to, because it's not what I signed up for.
We also had a conversation
We've
very
had
similarly
several conversations
about whether this particular stream and podcast were even going to happen.
Because now this is important. SAG is blacklisting people who are not SAG members, but who are promoting work for corporations that are being striked against.
Which is why we were very particular at the beginning of this.
To state, we're not fucking shilling for these guys, okay? Should we want to join SAG in the future, it must be on record that we have no intention of shilling for these fucking companies.
We're not sponsored, we're not promoting.
We're not getting paid dick.
And we will not be accepting any offers, because we will not be scabbing.
Don't you fucking come to me with a fucking contract right now. You can pay the other actors first. That being said, I'm not going to harm my chances of acting in something in the future. Mm-hmm. So.
And it's just good to support, like I said, we have friends that are...
We have friends in SAG.
We have friends that are being affected right now, because it's also theater, and we have several. We know someone who does stage managing and stuff in New York. We know several friends who are actors and in the film industry.
There are small businesses. I read this article before we went live today. There are small businesses that surround some of the major studios out in Burbank and shit that cater specifically to film and TV sets, like flower shops that don't have local customers because they just contract with the studios. Well, the studios can't make shit because all their production is ground to a halt. So guess what? This flower shop is gonna go out of fucking business. Small businesses, these fucking corporations, these big monopoly wielding corporations are making so much fucking money and they have so much fucking power that one little strike to get the writers a better paycheck and background actors a guarantee that they won't be replaced by fucking AI is destroying local economies throughout filming locations. I guarantee it's happening in Georgia. I guarantee it's happening in New York. And I guarantee it's happening in Los Angeles.
And Arizona.
And I bet you New Mexico too. Because where the fuck else do you film in the desert? Locally. It's not happening as bad here, but it costs a lot of money to film here.
Plus it's affecting, not big time, but small time online creators too that are just trying to I mean, like, people can't go to conventions right now. Like, if you are
Hallelujah RTX happened right before SAG called it.
if you like you and if we want to say again, we wanted to be in SAG, we cannot technically go to a convention right
Nope.
now.
I don't think we could even go as like a guest, or
Mm-mm.
like we couldn't even purchase a pass to go. I
No,
don't think
like it's like if you
it's a
go,
huge fucking deal.
it's going to affect and if you have never been to a convention, the amount of small businesses that get money from doing these conventions and now like a big huge part of their client base can't go, or if they were going to go, they were going to go like see a specific person who was doing a signing
And
or an
now those
autograph.
people are like contractually not allowed to show up.
And so it's going to the ripples will be so much bigger and longer lasting than we even think, because say the strike ends in August, but the effect is now we've lost a month of work, of production, of all this. It's going to push
Everything will
back.
get pushed back.
Everything.
The fucking the worst part of it is that these fucking Hollywood CEOs, especially Bob Iger, that piece of work, have come out and they said the quiet part out loud, which is that they are so wealthy and they have such an obscene amount of income regardless of their production timelines that they intend to wait the Writers Guild out until they are, quote, running out of money for housing. They will be losing apartments and houses. And the corporations are fine with that. They're okay straight up making people homeless. So, when that article came out, I didn't want to fucking make shit. I didn't know what the rules about the strikes were or anything. I didn't even want to stream. I was so mad. I like it. And people coming out and being like, these super rich actors are just trying to make a quick buck. No, man. It's not the super rich actors. The super rich actors have a good deal. Of course they have a good deal. That's why they're the super rich actors. You know who's a better deal? The CEOs of the production companies. They have a much better deal because they don't have a real job. Their job is be a face and secure funding. That's all they do. That's all, as far as I can tell, it's all any fucking CEO does. Across every industry. It's not about making actors more wealthy. Take that idea and stick it where the sun don't shine. It's about getting the writers out of the pit. They're in the red before this already, especially with streaming. And I guarantee you, another piece of fallout from this strike, musicians are going to follow. Because you know what's killed musician profit? Spotify. Apple Music too.
Taylor Swift's already been on her whole crusade for like a few years now, and the Eras tour
Oh,
is
yeah.
only furthering that.
You know how musicians make money now based on touring. The landscape for making money in music has changed so drastically. When I was a kid and I wanted to be a rock star, you were still buying albums. You could stream shit, but you would buy the albums on iTunes because guess what didn't exist yet? Spotify wasn't real.
Yeah, and even if like Pandora was just like you couldn't save songs on Pandora, you could just listen to certain channels.
It was like the radio.
Yeah, it was just like digital radio, a la Sirius XM.
Right. Streaming on demand came at the hands of Spotify. And with that came the ultimate decline of musicians' profits. When my band put our album out, we were in the red. We didn't sell copies of our album. I think we're still negative in terms of money. We played shows locally and we would make max like $150 selling shirts at $20 a piece for a local schmuck band. Like, we didn't make money, bro. Even I think Snoop Dogg said it in a he was on a panel or some stage a little while ago. I think it was right before SAG went on strike that it was recorded. I
Was
saw
it
it
Wild and Out? Because he was on there just
No,
recently.
no, no. He was on like a stage show,
Okay.
like with one of those ear mics, and he like went off script, and he said he was going off script because he was like, when I sold 9 million units of my album, 9 million units at $10 a piece, $90 million. That's how the money works when you're making profit on the physical sale of the album. Well, we don't buy albums anymore. We just download it and listen to it on Spotify, and we pay a measly $8 to $15 a month for Spotify. You know how much profit we made from our streams? We were making 0.00012 cents per stream.
I mean,
I think we have 3 songs above 1,000 streams.
what'll follow that too is then your digital creators, because I think it was Ben. I never say his last name correctly.
Brainerd.
Brainerd. Ben Brainerd was the one who like posted his earnings from YouTube versus TikTok versus like all these things.
TikTok is where money's at right now.
And so, and how much he was getting from Facebook and like who is paying the most. If this doesn't get quote unquote handled soon, like it's going to.
Every facet of entertainment is going to, it won't ever go away, but every facet of entertainment is going to take a paradigm shift in the next 2 years. Easily.
And you already have to think about who it's affecting just if you're online digital creator community. I'm thinking a la MatPat right now, where it's like eventually it'll be like he can't do his film theory because of this. And Super Carlin Bros, who do have a contract with Disney for certain things, like where it's gonna affect so many more people than just actors or just writers. Like you're sitting there whining and going, these big time actors, it's affecting so much more than that. And also, what?
I was just thinking about the big time actors, and I saw Ron Perlman, famously known as Hellboy. He's been in a bunch of shit. Very prolific actor. He posted about the strike. He's on strike. Dude is not working. He posted a video claiming he knew which CEO said they would be willing to wait the writers out until they were homeless. And he said that's a bold fucking statement when we know where you live. And he threatened to burn that motherfucker's house down. On the internet. You know who's not gonna do shit about it? No one's gonna do shit about that. Ron Perlman's a scary man. But, like, you gotta look at it like the big time actors are being incredibly vocal about this is not about me. And I'm going to take all the influence I have and tell you it's not about me. I would tell you exactly who this is about. They're doing their damnedest to make no mistake. People should not be confused. People should not be misled. This is not about putting more money in your highfalutin actor's pocket. This is about kicking CEOs in the balls and putting paychecks into the hands of the people who write the jokes you like so much from your fucking sitcoms. Not every actor's great at improv. There's only like 15 of them. Half of those guys are on SNL, who is also striking. So,
I mean, they're all writers.
They've been on strike for 70 days. I don't know how the fuck they've been making the show. I am so sweaty from ranting.
Well, no, I was going to say, even if it is these big time actors, why shouldn't they be paid what they're worth? I'm thinking...
Yes!
I'm thinking a la Emma Stone, who got fucked over because of the Cruella de Vil release. Like,
when the writer's strike happened, you know what was the first big headline to indicate that we were going to be in trouble over this shit? Ryan Reynolds cannot improvise dialogue in Deadpool 3 because that would be considered writing and he is considered a principal writer on the fucking movie, so he can't improv, which is kind of a whole thing that he does in the Deadpool movies. He did it for both of them, and they were both huge monetary successes.
Well, they've had to alt production, so maybe, or not alt. They've had to halt production, so maybe now
they went on strike immediately.
So maybe we'll get that revisited if this ever gets sorted out.
It'll get sorted out. You can't have A-listers talking about how they're going on strike until the CEOs get their shit together for more than a couple of weeks.
Guess we'll see.
They're gonna have to come up with some bullshit. They already tried one deal with the Screen Actors Guild where they were like, we're just going to use background actors' likenesses in perpetuity with AI to fill out crowds. And the Screen Actors Guild went, you will fucking not. That's the dumbest shit I ever heard. Fucking burn it all down.
Eat the rich. Viva la revolution.